was Gurmeet who actually been working with her for several years, and he also wanted to schedule this one, got in touch with us, so just wanted to acknowledge Gurmeet Simanko for that. So since then, Nandita Shah has been in touch with us, and we will definitely like to show a little video of her sometime in between. We just want to be very careful about the time management. It's a Sunday morning. We just want to make sure that morning and afternoon. We just want to make sure that you're back to your destination in time. So we'll start. You can see a glimpse of her bio, which is a very long one. Just some bullets here. Most significantly, I mean, she's been doing this for 40 years. Very meticulously, and she's been working with people closely, both at individual and at various levels. She's also been recognized by the President of India through the Nari Shakti Award, and that's been quite some time, about 8 years ago, and she has continued her work. She has many programs running, and we wanted to do this program with Heartfulness Center for the specific reason that, Heartfulness Center, among everything that you saw, has a lot of presence in India. And the India chapter of CWC has also done a program with her. So she has been all over. And this is, again, a wonderful opportunity to reconnect and unite with her. So thanks, Dr. Nandita, for coming all the way and joining us. So over to you, Dr. Nandita Shah.
For giving us this space, and CWC for arranging this, and Gurmeet, my friend, for organizing this. And may I ask all of you to come in front, because it would be lovely to be more in touch with you, if you like. Because there's such a big room and there are fewer of us, so it would be lovely to be more in contact. Before I go on, I would like to know, how many of you already know about SHARAN? Okay, so not too many. And how many of you know about whole food plant-based diet for? Okay, wonderful. And how many of you are totally new to whatever I'm saying today? Okay. Okay, great. So then I'll try to summarize what we do and why and the logic behind it. So let's just start as soon as possible. SHARAN is the organization that I founded, and SHARAN stands for Sanctuary for Health and Reconnection to Animals and Nature. And one of the reasons that I started this is because I found, I was actually living in Mumbai, and I found that in Mumbai, people are getting sicker and sicker. And one of them was me. So I landed up with Guillain-Barré. Does anyone know what Guillain-Barré is? It's an acute autoimmune disease that leads to complete body paralysis. And I ended up with Guillain-Barré, but being a doctor, I knew that I didn't want to take any of the medicines that they usually prescribe. And I was advised to get admitted immediately in the hospital and actually in the ICU. But I decided to treat myself entirely at home with the help of family members and some helpers. And I thought that anyway, in general, medicines never cure. But the body always works to heal. And if I have a disease, it's because I'm doing something wrong. So what can I change to allow my body to heal so that I can heal? And I have already started on a plant-based diet even before I got sick, but I wasn't completely off. I used to, a plant-based diet means no animal products, not even dairy. And I would avoid all these things, but if I went out and somebody had cooked in ghee or somebody had cooked in butter, I would accept. And I think one of the reasons that I got Guillain-Barré was after a rabies vaccination. Often autoimmune diseases occur after vaccination, and we've seen a spurt of autoimmune disease even after COVID vaccine. So, and I got a dog bite, I took a rabies vaccine, I went back to see the dog was fine, so I stopped all the other rabies vaccines and just had one. But maybe it was that, and maybe it was my not complete whole food plant-based diet at that time. But when I got well, I started to think, what is my body trying to tell me? Because the only way our body can talk to us is through symptoms. And my body had totally shut down, paralysis, right? So I thought that this means at least slow down, which is the reason why I moved from Mumbai, where I had a very busy practice, and my practice was so busy that I'd be working sometimes till 8 in the evening and then come home at night and the phone would start ringing. And I knew that the only way that I could get away from that practice is to move. And I chose to move to Auroville, which is in nature, and I live in a little house on the beach, which is open, and when I moved there, that same day a cat moved in with me. I had never lived with an animal before. And I wasn't really living with the animal, it was coming in and out, whatever, but it moved in with me, it was staying a lot with me. I wasn't even feeding it, she was looking after herself, and I observed that animals in nature know how to be well. How can it be that we are so sick? And I also had nature all around me, and I was observing this, and I thought that the reason we are sick is because we're disconnected. Disconnected from nature and disconnected from our intuition, our instincts. Because our body knows everything. Right now, you all know everything you need to know to heal. But we are living in a way that we've been taught by our culture, our society, and advertisements, so that we are out of touch with our instincts. How can we get back in touch with our instincts is a question. So let's go there. Today's program is lifestyle diseases that we face today. We are going to talk about these, and the logic of nutrition as medicine. Like, how can you cure so-called incurable diseases just by making lifestyle changes predominantly nutrition? You want to speak? Come here. So I just want to, or you introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Anay. So you can switch to whole food plant-based diet, and the dairy products that we eat is also connecting but also not. The chimpanzee is eating fruits, everything in the vials that you find, but we're making at home. Thank you.
Anay, can I share your story? Huh? Thank you so much. So Anay has type 1 diabetes, and he and his parents consulted me, and it's been a while. Mrinalini, are you there somewhere? Okay. Mrinalini, would you like to share your story? about his lifestyle changes and the results in his school. So congratulations, Anay, for that.
Thank you, doctor, for giving me this privilege to talk in front of you. So, we are all following a vegetarian diet at home. And when my son was sick with type 1 diabetes, we were all here and there not knowing what to do. So one of our friends recommended that why don't you consult Dr. Nandita from SHARAN, India. Maybe she has some magic that she can tell us. So with all the hope that we had and listening to the doctors at Stanford, following what they were saying, it was a month, it was terrible in our lives that time. So when we approached Dr. Nandita Shah, and the very first session that I took with her, I think we got a lot of confidence and pulled back that my son would be okay. So with that being said, next 3 months, every second week, every week twice, I would just reach out to doctor. I'm worried, what can I do? I'm worried, what can I do? And she just kept holding and saying us, don't worry, eat the right food, listen to your son's body, don't force him with anything, just be connected with nature. So we decided to change our entire lifestyle at home. So myself, my little one, who was just 3 years old that time, I put him out of milk, straightforward, thinking nothing. And then I removed all the groceries from my home. It was about maybe $1,000 of loss. I had like so many things. I just cleaned up right the second day. Without thinking anything, we just brought in whatever was told by Dr. Nandita, and I'm sure she'll explain us now in a bit. And we follow that. It has been 3 years now. We have been very religious to this, and my son is even more than all of us. So, thank you, Dr. Nandita.
Thank you, Nirali. Thank you for coming and sharing the story. And Anay, thank you for putting your hand up. So, just to go back to this, so we are going to talk about the logic of nutrition as medicine and how our body always works to heal, SHARAN's principles of healing, so you learn what we need to do and what we need to change. Then we're going to quickly talk about the causes of disease, because I recognize that medicines never cure, only because medicines can only remove symptoms temporarily. Like for example, if someone gets diabetes or hypertension, they take medicines, and over a period of time those medicines can spiral upwards and nobody gets cured. But if we think about it, why is no one getting cured? Because we're not looking at the cause. For example, if someone gets diabetes, they go to the doctor. Doctor tells them cut down sugar and carbohydrates. Now that can help temporarily, but it doesn't cure, because sugar is not the cause of diabetes. High blood sugar is the result of diabetes. And the cause of diabetes is insulin resistance. That's type 2 diabetes, is insulin resistance. And if we can figure out what is the cause of insulin resistance, we can get cured. Anay, I'm going to let you talk, but now in the end, because I've got too much to cover, but I really appreciate you putting up your hand. So if we think about what is the cause of insulin resistance and remove that, diabetes has to go. And that's what I've been doing with SHARAN and even before, all these years, helping people reverse or prevent diseases just by making logical changes, changes that you will soon understand that you even know about this. It's just that we may not all be doing it. And how to make a meal plan, we'll talk about that too. So today we have so many lifestyle diseases. Actually, we live in a culture of disease, and these are just some of them. And all of these can be prevented, and most of them can be reversed as well. And I'll tell you in the end a little bit more about this. We have a 21-day health retreat where we do all the tests in the beginning and all the tests in the end. And during the retreat, we cut down on medications will get better. Often they go out with no medications or very few medications. And they learn to listen to their body and eat according to the way we were designed to eat by nature or God, the way all animals eat when they eat instinctively, when they have a choice. And I just want to point out here to Malu. Malu, could you put up your hand or even stand up? So Malu is a nutritionist. And Malu attended our 21-day retreat in June last year. Yeah, last year. And she came because her cousin attended our 21-day retreat the year before. And Malu has been working with Dr. Pankaj Vij here in this area. And she can also help so many people. She's worked with so many people. So Malu, they may want to meet you at the end, and you could also speak about this a bit at the end. So today's culture, in general, of course not all of you, but in general, people just go for medication. They want instant results. They want to get rid of symptoms instantly. Instead of going for lifestyle changes like I did, I started thinking, why did this happen to me? And my body is saying, shut down, so I better move to a place where I can slow down at least, so that I don't get this kind of illness again. We talked about this. So what is the logic of nutrition as medicine? And the logic is that if we were all listening to our instincts, it would be hard to get sick. Since I've made total lifestyle changes, I almost never get sick. And I can totally rely on my health all the time. If you think about, if you have a cow, you will feed it grass, and if you have a lion, you will feed it meat, and this is natural because these animals instinctively eat these foods. But when it comes to us, we have been told that we're omnivores. But is it true? Imagine if we go to a farm or an orchard and we see fruits and vegetables. What do you feel like doing? Picking and eating. But if we see a chicken walk by, or a goat, or a cow, does our mouth ever water? And that's because instinctively these are not our foods, right? Whose mouth would water if they saw chicken walk by? Which animal? Maybe a dog or a fox. Because a dog or a fox can pounce on that animal, tear it apart with its own appendages, and eat it raw. But none of the animal foods that we eat can we do that, right? We have to take that food and take a chicken, for example, and take out the skin, take out the bones, hack it with a knife, then cook it, and only then we could eat it. So it's not our food, but sometimes when we see this food on a plate, we might be tempted. If you're a non-vegetarian, you might be tempted, and that's because of our conditioning. But truly, what nature and God designed for us are the foods that we could eat whole, right? The foods that we could eat in their raw form. And if we could eat more of these foods, automatically we would heal. And if you look at the teeth of carnivores, or the teeth of herbivores, or even the teeth of omnivores, true omnivores, and now look at your own teeth, you can see that our teeth resemble that of a herbivore and not really that of an omnivore. And it's same for our anatomy as well. So if we eat foods that aren't suitable to our anatomy, we are naturally going to get sick. Now, how many of you here are vegetarians? I was a vegetarian before. Okay, so many vegetarians. And how many of you are non-vegetarian? Okay, great. So, vegetarians and non-vegetarians get the same diseases. Have you seen? Whether it's diabetes or heart disease or hypertension or whatever. And that's because milk and meat have the same properties. High protein, high fat, and no fiber. So when a non-vegetarian goes out to eat, they may order chicken. And when a vegetarian goes out to eat, what will they order? Paneer or cheese, right? And paneer and cheese is a very high concentration of milk, which is similar to chicken or even more, actually even more, high protein and high fat. So when I say milk, I mean milk, cheese, buttercream, paneer, ice cream, yogurt, ghee, everything that's made of it, right? And when we put the wrong, and we know this, actually we know this because we know that every mammal produces milk only for their young, and we are not cows, and every baby loves their mother's milk. They don't want to leave their mother's breast. But when they're first given cow's milk, does anyone appreciate? But then mothers put sugar and cocoa and all kinds of flavorings into the milk to force it down, but instinctively, even as a baby, and when we're babies, we are most connected with our instincts. We know that it's not our food, but we've been consuming it. And we are being manipulated by advertising. I always say that if you want to know what to eat and what not to eat, make a whole list of everything that's advertised and don't eat that. Because nobody's going to spend money, a lot of money, to advertise something that we already know instinctively, which is why we don't often see advertisements for apples and oranges or carrots and cucumbers, right? But we do see advertisements for all these things. And so we really need to rethink about what we are doing. So back to the foods that are most useful for us, they are the foods that we're instinctively attracted to and we could eat raw. And we should eat them like all the other species on the planet, whole. Whole means, we're the only species that makes our food less nutritious before eating by refining. And that goes for oil and sugar and white rice and white flour. It also goes for all the vegetables that we peel, because the maximum nutrition is just under the skin. And if we peel, we are taking off the high nutrient part of the food. So eat whole foods means eat like a monkey. That means eat the part of the food that a monkey would eat. That means peel your bananas, but don't peel your apples. That means if we didn't have all these tools, we would be eating right anyway. But now that we have these tools, we are eating right. And one more thing, we are the only species that sprays our food with poison so that other animals don't eat it. And then we eat it. Right? And it's so poisonous that we even need to wear suits to protect us when we're spraying, but we're eating. And we all know that chemicals are carcinogens and chemicals are hormone disruptors. And today we have so many hormonal problems like diabetes, insulin is a hormone, or PCOS or PCOD, or prostate enlargement, or premature puberty, or breast cancer, prostate cancer, thyroid issues, ovarian cancer. These are all common hormonal issues because of the chemicals in our lives. So we should switch to 100% organic, which is what Mrinalini was probably talking about when she threw out all the groceries and started getting good things because, her son had type 1 diabetes, and of course that's connected to hormones as well, and so we had to clean up. So we need, in order to eat high quality spare parts. And those are nutrients. So we should be looking at where can we get foods with the highest amount of nutrients all the time, rather than anything else, right? And we need to have all the colors of the rainbow. And instinctively, we do like colors. Don't you feel like this is attractive? We do like colors. And that's why, if they are advertising, they do something like this. And so we feel the need to pick up one of each, right? This is an image from India, but you know what I'm talking about, because it's the same thing here. So, in summary, what we recommend is eating as close as possible to what nature designed for us, eating only plant-based foods. Now, honestly, all the plant-based foods are not for us. For example, if you see green fields of wheat and rice, does our mouth water? Probably not, because we can't go and pick it and eat it. And we know that so many people suffer from gluten intolerance. Why? Because wheat is anyway not our food. But we don't take it out immediately, but we should keep it in mind that, and the reason we don't take it out immediately is because it's close enough to plant-based food that our body can manage it. But we should keep in mind that we should increase fruits, increase vegetables, and decrease our grain intake. And then whole foods, that means instead of having orange juice, eat oranges. Eat things as whole as possible. And obviously, instead of oil, we have oil replacers like coconut or roasted crushed peanuts or roasted crushed sesame or even nuts. And incidentally, we don't recommend a large amount of nuts either. And that's because nuts for humans are very difficult to get into. Like if you're under a walnut tree, how many of you have seen unshelled walnuts? Anybody here? Okay. So if you're under a walnut tree and you see these walnuts on the ground, but you have to open them with a stone, like anyone in nature, how many walnuts would you eat? Not too many. But if you go to the grocery store and buy a bag that's already shelled, it's easy to overeat them. So nature protects us from overeating the things that we shouldn't eat. But we have refined things and we eat everything. Similarly, almonds are very difficult to get into, and you can just go to Google and look at the almond fruit and the nut. And pistachios are even more difficult because you can't get into them without heating them, or cashews are more difficult, but we get them ready and so we can eat a lot of them. So instead of this, if we keep thinking, what did nature design for us? Because imagine a squirrel can open a nut, but it's not easy for us. That means each species has its niche. And when we put the wrong fuel in our body, it's like putting diesel in a car that runs on petrol. It's not going to work. And eventually, everyone will get some disease or another. But if you put the right fuel, if you clean out that engine and put the right fuel, everything will go right again, right? And then we want to have organic foods and more raw foods. Obviously, all the animals on the planet eat their food raw. And avoid all the processed and additives that are added to food and so on. That means if we can make our food fresh and at home and eat more like Anna eats, we will automatically be well. And how beautiful, that he's a young child and his mother said that he's even more particular than we are. Right? How beautiful. Anay, congratulations. You're going to be a doctor when you grow up. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the principles of healing. First, we have to trust that our body always works to heal. And we have to get out of the way. And we have to think, what did nature expect of us? And how can we go as close to that expectation in a sustainable way? Now, why sustainable? This is why I said that we don't cut out grains immediately, because right now, most of us might be having grains in every meal, right? Rice or wheat or other grains. So we are going to reduce them and increase the fruits and vegetables so that it will be sustainable. But then we are going to keep improving, right? We're going to add more raw. And actually, if someone has a very severe disease, I often tell them to eat only raw. And I was just speaking to some people in Sacramento, and they were talking to me about how really serious diseases had been healed by people at the True North Center by water fasting. Because when we fast, we are allowing our body to just cleanse out all the things that are not good for us. Now, when I say all this, I often get many questions, and I just wrote them down because I know that these are questions that it would be good to answer. So the first one is, how will I get my proteins? Is that a question for all of you? Yes. Okay. If we're eating just fruits and vegetables, how are we going to get our protein? And before I say anything, I just want to point out that the only manufacturer of protein in the world are plants. So plants can manufacture protein from nitrogen from the soil and sunlight and water and air. And nobody else can do that, no animals can do that. So when we eat animals, we're eating second-hand protein. Now, often we think we need more protein, and so how many of you know somebody with protein deficiency? Please put up your hand if you know somebody with protein deficiency. Isn't it funny that we are obsessed with protein when we don't even know somebody with protein deficiency? Protein deficiency does occur. It has a name. It's called kwashiorkor, and it occurs in starvation and some serious kidney diseases. But in general, nobody gets protein deficiency by eating no matter what they eat, because every single cell has protein in it. Where do elephants, cows, and horses get their protein from? Grass, right. Anay knows it perfectly. Thank you. And because he's been doing it so sincerely for so long. So we don't need to worry about protein. Actually, we need to worry about protein excess. And we'll come to that. Now, should I eat honey? Yes, if your mouth waters when you see the beehive. And no, if it does not. That means the answers are within us. Right? How much water should I drink and when? Now, often people say don't drink with your meals, don't drink after your meals, and so on. And these are things that we've been told through books or our culture or whatever. But if you look at animals, they eat their food and then they drink. So how are we going to know when to drink? And our rule is so simple. Drink when thirsty. That means if you're eating something and you're thirsty, please drink. And if you're not thirsty, you don't need to drink. If you eat more fruits and vegetables, you may not need to drink as much you do if you eat more cooked food or dry or dense food, right? Is meat good for me? And I think we already answered that one. Isn't milk a complete food? We've been told that milk is a complete food. But milk is a complete food for the calf, and we are not calves. So when we consume something which is not suitable to our species, how is it going to work? Right? Is getting organic foods really necessary? And honestly, if you go to those fields where they're spraying, you will say yes. Because we can't wash off those chemicals. Just like if your skin is dry and you put on a lotion with all those chemicals, after some time it's gone. You can't take it off. It's gone inside. In the same way, if we spray fruits and vegetables with chemicals, we can wash as much as we like, but the chemicals are inside. Why does SHARAN recommend only 10 nuts a day? Because we're generous. And because most people need nuts to make their plant-based cheeses or plant-based milk or something that they're used to. So 10 nuts a day, but in nature we may not even eat 10 nuts. And there are people who eat healthy and try to avoid nuts because it's not our food. But we don't need to do that, but we need to see what we need to do. Are supplements really necessary? So many of us have multivitamins, right? But would God expect us to have supplements? Do other animals in nature need supplements to survive? How can we consume high quality, nutrient dense food so that we don't need supplements? Now, is intermittent fasting good? Because intermittent fasting is being done by so many people these days, right? Have you heard of intermittent fasting? What is intermittent fasting? It's not eating for 16 hours of the day and eating for only 8. Now think about it. If we were living in nature, then of course you would be living in a more tropical area because, you know, it's too cold in some places to live in nature, right? But if we were living in nature, we can't eat before sunrise and we can't eat after sunset. This is already intermittent fasting. So, if we were to think what did nature expect of us, we would be doing intermittent fasting, not eating too early and not eating too late into the night, right? Aren't coconuts and peanuts too rich in fat? You know, I said that oil replacer is coconut or peanuts. That means if you're making a dish and you put some grated coconut on top or roasted crushed peanuts on top, it can give you good flavor, the kind of flavor you think you'll miss if you drop the oil. How to cook without oil, I don't have time to cover today, but we have an amazing basic cooking class on our website. You can register for it, and it teaches you how to cook without oil and without dairy, you know, especially for Indians because dairy is so integral in Indian diet these days. So think about it. In order to have 1 tablespoon of oil, you need a whole handful of peanuts. And many people easily consume 1 tablespoon of oil. So if we were to consume some peanuts, it will not be harmful. And by the way, peanuts are not nuts. Peanuts are legumes and they're really easy to open or shell. And coconuts too. coconuts, the fat is held with fiber. And by the way, coconuts or peanuts or any of these foods don't contain cholesterol. Cholesterol is only made by animals. So when we consume animals, we are animals, by the way. We also produce cholesterol, but when we consume animal products, we are consuming cholesterol. So if our cholesterol levels are high, we need to cut out animal products. But we don't need to cut out coconut and cashews or peanuts because they don't contain any cholesterol. Plants never make cholesterol. Are hand sanitizers helpful? They are chemicals too and they get absorbed. And so we should minimize on this. So these were just a few questions that people often ask, and I just wanted to answer them for you through logic. So that if you have another question, you can just ask yourself, what did nature expect from us? And we are going to have a question-answer session in the end too. Now, has anyone heard of Dr. Lorraine Dave? Dr. Lorraine Dave was an orthopedic surgeon. She died last year in November. But she reversed her breast cancer by learning along the way, and she has a 10-step plan of what you need to do to reverse disease. And it's there's an acronym for it, New Start, AB. So New Start: nutrition, exercise, water, sunlight. Temperance. Temperance means avoiding all the addictive, harmful substances like tea and coffee and colas and sugar and all those addictive things, alcohol. And then fresh air. Always make sure you're out in fresh air at least sometime in the day. And rest at the right time. There's a reason it's dark at night. So how can we sleep when it's dark and make sure, our body heals between 10 and 4, but you have to be asleep. So if we go to bed at midnight, it prevents some of our healing. And trust in God or trust in your body, which is nature, that it knows how to heal. We can heal. So now, just to differentiate between naturopathy, and I think naturopathy is really good, and I think that even the medicines that we sometimes need to take are required. But what we are doing here is not naturopathy. It's not anypathy. It's not written in any book. It's the thing that is already in your instinct. So the differences between naturopathy and what we're doing is we don't need any procedures like baths and enemas and urine drinking or sun gazing or healing herbs and medications and fixed dietary regimens and fasting. We need to just learn to listen to our body. What exercise should you do? The one you enjoy, but do it. And the differences between other systems of treatment and Sharan's treatment system is the same. All these systems, and I was one of them, all these systems are man-made systems where we are trying to relieve symptoms. But how can we start, instead of working on relieving symptoms, work on removing disease by removing causes? That's what we need to do. So here you see that, usually doctors work on symptoms, but we need to work at the root cause. And our body always works to heal. So what are the nutritional causes of disease? Number one, excess fat. And where does the excess fat come from? oil, ghee, butter, margarine, fried foods, as well as animal products. All animal products are full of fat. So think about it. If you boil meat, fish, chicken, milk, you get fat on top. But if you boil peanuts, coconut, a piece of coconut, or sesame, or even avocado, you will not get fat floating on top. Why not? Because the fiber holds on to the fat. Right? So we are going to talk more about this soon. Excess fat, excess proteins. Excess proteins actually cause so many of the diseases that we are facing today. And lack of fiber, and only plants have fiber, and if we refine them, they don't. Empty calories and chemicals. Chemicals in our food. So let's have a look at this. Excess fat can be on our body or in our food, and I already told you the foods, animal products and refined plant fats. Now what does this do to us? Here's a test tube of blood that has been centrifuged, and you see the plasma on top and the red blood cells below. And here is a test tube of blood that has been centrifuged soon after, 4 hours after a meal. And you can see all the fat in the plasma. That means the blood has become viscid. And our body has to, take the blood to every single cell in our body through tiny arteries. And if the blood becomes thickened with fat, it doesn't work. And this fat, the thickened blood, injures the artery walls and leads to bandaging with cholesterol, and over a period of time we get atherosclerosis and plaque. And this can lead to angina and stroke, and I'm going to go fast because I know I'm running out of time and I want to have time for questions. So it can lead to so many diseases. In fact, we talked about diabetes, and the main cause of diabetes is fat inside the muscle cells. But any part of our body that doesn't get enough circulation can have pain. Like pain in the joints is because of lack of circulation there, again fat. Pain, back pain, if you cut out all the fat, your back pain can improve as well. So I'm just going to go fast. Okay, but I shouldn't miss this. Breast cancer is also connected to fat. In fact, cancers are also connected to fat, because normal cells can survive with normal oxygenation, but cancer cells survive with less oxygenation. So cancer is actually a survival mechanism of the body when we have less oxygenation to a part. Excess protein can cause osteoporosis and kidney disease and gout and acidity and cancer and allergies, and animal proteins can even cause autoimmune diseases. Now I don't have time to go into this in great detail just now, but if you go to our website, if you go to our YouTube channel, there's a talk on each of these diseases. So if you want to reverse a particular disease, you can go to our YouTube channel and learn more. And diseases linked to lack of fiber, the main one is constipation. So many people suffer from constipation. And when we clean out, because fiber helps to clean the gut, it holds on to toxins and throws them out. And when we clean out, diseases get solved. And of course, empty calories only lead to obesity. And chemicals can come through packaged food or non-organic food, or even personal care products. All those soaps and shampoos and perfumes and deodorants and hair dyes and aftershaves and shaving cream and all of that. And then also the window cleaners and toilet cleaners and incense and floor cleaners, and there's a good way to do it without all of those. Baking soda and vinegar works really well. And medicines are chemicals as well. And all of these chemicals that go into our body are broken down by the liver, so it causes liver complaints, and are excreted by the kidneys and cause kidney disease. And we already talked about how chemicals are hormone disruptors, they can cause hormonal problems, and of course chemicals are carcinogens too. So we need to cut down on our chemicals. Now there are two important supplements that should be checked and supplemented if necessary, and they are vitamins B12 and D. In the US, many of the foods that we buy packaged are fortified. So you might not have a problem with vitamin B12 and D when you start, but if you go to, real foods, cleaner foods, fruits and vegetables, then you might have a deficiency of vitamin B12 and D, because vitamin B12 is made by bacteria, and we have a super hygienic lifestyle. And vitamin D is made by the action of the sun on the skin, but we may not be outdoors in the sun without our clothes, with less clothes on in order to absorb all that vitamin D. Now a few more thoughts, but I know we're running out of time. So should I close and allow questions now? Yes. Yes, that's a good idea. So would you have any questions? Okay. Okay, we are going to cover the mind and body because it's very important. Yes? Yes. We have to check and supplement if necessary. We don't want to supplement unless it's necessary. And if you would like to learn more about vitamin B12 and D, it's also there on our YouTube channel. There's a whole talk on vitamin B12 and D, and it's really important and worth looking into. And I'm going to cover quickly mind and body. Oh yes. Thank you for that. So mind and body are very much in our. Okay, now, okay. Were you able to hear me all this time?
Yeah.
Okay. So mind and body are intricately connected, and today we are so stressed, and one of the reasons is because we experience emotions through hormones. So, like when we're happy, we have high dopamine or serotonin. When we're depressed, we have, or when we're stressed, we have more adrenaline and cortisol. And animals in our, we are going to skip this fast, huh? Sorry. So, animals in our food chain are very, very stressed. And when we consume animal products, we are consuming their stress hormones. And many people will see that when you switch from a regular diet, an omnivorous diet, to a plant-based diet, the stress levels go down. Is there anyone here who has experienced that? You have. Would you like to share your experience? One sec, the mic is coming to you. And please, very short because we are running out of time.
So I think for 3 months I have been on plant-based whole food, and my stress level and the energy level has gone so much higher.
Wow.
So I really do not need to sleep, and I'm just always active and happy. So I think 1 or 2 days I tried some meat because somebody gave it to me, and I was very sad that day. And I just don't know how it happened, just sharing that.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, and I've experienced this as well. So what means to heal, we'll do that later. Any other questions? You had a question here. There's a mic needed here.
Thank you, Doctor, for all the light you shared. So I have one question. Do we need to completely avoid dairy?
If you're not a calf, yes.
Because the ghee is considered as superfood in Ayurvedic also, Ayurvedic system also. Yeah, so
I totally understand, and that's why I explained that, you know, the difference between our system and other systems is that they are man-made systems, and man-made can be wrong. But will nature or God be wrong ever? Right? So here's what. I know a lot of people who are Ayurveds, and I've seen them get heart attacks. And the reason is that, imagine if you have blood flowing and oil enters the fat in terms of oil enters the bloodstream, it will thicken the blood. But imagine ghee. It's a saturated fat. Right? Now, Ayurveda may have come about at a time when ghee was hardly available. Like, think about Krishna. Krishna had how many cows? Thousands, or maybe at least 100. So why was he stealing dairy products? The reason he had to steal is because if the calf drinks its mother's milk, there's nothing left. And ghee was something very, very difficult to get. But today, we are artificially inseminating cows so they become pregnant at the age of 2 years. And when they have their baby is taken away from them. I read something which said that the dairy industry, and actually it's the complete animal industry, animal food industry. Yes, yes. Yes, I'm just going to complete this. The dairy and the animal industry is a business of taking mothers away from their babies. Isn't it true? Okay. So do we want to get those stress hormones? No.
One last question.
Okay, but should we give everyone a chance to ask questions first?
How about the cold pressed oil? Because whatever oils we get in market, so they are not 100% pure. So
okay, and you could take the mic to her while I answer that. So cold pressed oil is also a man-made substance. The original substance is the seeds or the nuts, right? So we shouldn't. And you know what? Actually, have you ever tasted oil? Oil doesn't taste good, whether cold pressed or not cold pressed. But coconut, peanuts, nuts do taste good. And if you add them to your food and learn the techniques of oil-free cooking, it actually tastes better.
Dr. Shah, thank you very much for a lovely presentation. My name is Dinesh Chandra and I work with the corporations. The lucky ones, the ones who can go to your program for 21 days and benefit. Many people are not able to go, they're stressed out. What advice would you give them so that while staying at their work or in their homes, they can still begin to adopt some of these methodologies, some of the things you're suggesting? What advice would you give?
Okay, so I would just like to say that anybody can do this. If Anay, who goes to school and all his friends are not doing this, can do this, anybody can do this. You just need to learn, and learning how to cook this way is a bit like if you're cooking Indian food and you need to learn how to cook Italian food, it's going to take a week. But then you can be perfect at it. Similarly, if you're cooking Indian food and you need to cook dairy-free or oil-free, you just need a week, actually just 2 hours to learn how to do it. And a little bit of practice.
My question is on the uprise in cognitive health lately.
can you speak a little louder?
Sure, sure. There's a lot of uprise in cognitive health issues, currently Alzheimer's and dementia and such, and it's just occurring across the board regardless of.
Absolutely.
So, what's your take on that in terms of?
Absolutely. So, you know, when we, there's a longer answer that I would like to give, but I don't have time. But there's a beautiful book written by Dean Sherzai, Dr. Dean Sherzai and Aisha. Dr. Dean and Aisha Sherzai on this, on Alzheimer's, and also Dr. Neil Barnard has written a book on Alzheimer's and plant-based nutrition. But I'm going to give you a quick answer. Imagine if the small arteries in the brain are getting blocked with fat. You lose memory. Right? Yes. Okay, I'm going with the person who has a mic. Okay? Okay, please take the mic to this side now.
Yeah, thank you so much, and it's wonderful. Thank you very much. My name is Bushra Singh, and I'm a heartfulness practitioner.
You're a heartfulness practitioner. Okay.
So my question is tied to the gut biome. So there is a lot of talk about gut biomes. So the thought process is like there are different races who have been eating meat products for a longer time. Their gut bacteria is kind of supportive of that kind of food. So what do you have to say, and what is the recent research in this?
The good gut bacteria requires a good amount of fiber in the gut, and fiber only comes from plants. Therefore, if you are completely on plants, you will have, over a period of time, because it takes time to build up, you will have the best gut microbiome you can ever get.
Thank you, doctor. So my question is, if a person is following plant-based diet and having moderate, good lifestyle, but still gets a disease, maybe heart disease. So the question is genetic also playing a role in making the person having that disease?
Okay. Usually, there are some diseases that are congenital, but in general, genetics is the gun, but lifestyle is the trigger. You have the choice of pulling the trigger or not. Yes.
Thank you, doctor. One question is, I have a nephew, very similar condition. How do we contact you?
Okay, thank you for that. If you go to our website, and our website is on every single slide, so you can take it down right now, sharan-india.org. You will see in the menu consultations, and you can book a consultation. This is usually required, even if someone's in a busy. There was a question from this side about how can people in working in big organizations avail of this. So you can book a consultation on our website, and we do the consultations very thoroughly on Zoom, and we get the results. And I'm always seeing patients all over the world, but we also have a team of doctors and nutritionists and specialists.
Just to follow up on the gut microbiome, one area which is getting more recognized is the use of fermented foods, because just fiber by itself will not restore the gut microbiome, and there are differences in gut microbiome from urban to rural populations. So what is your thinking around fermented foods?
I think fermented foods are really good, but you know who you need to listen to? Your body. So if your body wants fermented foods, you can have them. Now I just want to say a word about probiotics, because often people want to take commercially made probiotics or eat fermented foods for probiotics. But many of us Indians know that you can make yogurt overnight just by putting a spoon of the culture in a bowl of milk, and next day you will have a whole bowl of yogurt, right? And then you can use that same yogurt in the next one, and you can do the same with plant-based milks as well. You can make plant-based yogurt with the same kind of culture. Now, if you have one good bacteria in your gut, you will have all the bacteria you need, because the bacteria know how to multiply. So we don't need to do something special to get probiotics, but if you like fermented foods, they are good for you.
Thank you, Dr. Shah, for the information and insightful messages which you are giving. My basic question is that, if we go on plant-based food, the tendency is that we eat as much as we want to get better. In my case, specifically when I eat salad and all, I say, eat as much as you can eat so that it becomes more better to me. How do we control that emotionally, and what are the recommendations that you eat this much? That's my question.
Okay, so I think that cooked food is addictive and raw food isn't. Because usually people will say, oh, today I overate whatever. Usually it's an animal product and not even a plant-based product. Like people would say, I overate paneer, but nobody will say I overate dal. People will say that they overate a cooked food, say a biryani, but nobody said today I overate carrots, right? When we eat whole foods, we are likely to eat less. So the reason your salad may be, maybe you're overeating is because of the dressing. It could have sugar and oil in it or something like that. And we have 600 recipes on our website which can help you cook without oil, and fabulous salad and dressing recipes. So try them.
Thank you for this very good session. My question is, can we reverse neurological disease with this kind of lifestyle, like autism?
Autism, yes. But all neurological diseases, and autism also depends on the stage and how much, but largely yes. But all neurological diseases, no, because nerves do not regenerate. Most of our body cells regenerate, but nerves don't regenerate.
But does it help with the condition, the symptoms reduce or?
It depends on the disease, the neurological disease.
So can I connect with you and get more answers?
Yes, please. Don't forget that we have those consultations up there. Okay, so Som is saying that he needs to make some announcements before anyone leaves, and then we will continue a few more Q&A for whoever wants to stay.
Dr. Nandita Shah is an ecosystem by herself, so however, there's a book there, okay, that is also waiting, so any of you interested. So we'll make those announcements, so this is going to be ongoing, and of course, she's here, she's been doing this for 40 years, and she's going strong, everything that she does, but she's going to continue the discussion. I want to do some announcements and also invite Naren Bakshi, co-founder of Crack the Wellness Code. I want to say a few things about Crack the Wellness Code. So we started 6 years ago in San Francisco Bay Area, and apart from food and kind of dietary, we focus a lot on dietary practices as well, the mindful eating and so on. A lot of areas where there's a lot of overlap with what heartfulness centers are. I'm very glad to be associated with them. We have an annual event coming up in August 24. We have a lot of other activities going on. We have a standee there to make it very simple. Just take your phone and get the QR code, and you can download our app, and that has all the events. Many of our events are free. We are a non-profit 501c3, but there are certain events obviously we cover the cost, and we have a fantastic retreat coming up on 26th to 28th at the gorgeous Los Altos Hill, and it's called Train the Brain, and pure science-based, where we talk about neurological and cardiological aspects of how to use that, and we have some very good experts talking about that. We also have an event on April 20, which is by Dr. Tony Nadej, which is going to be focusing on consciousness. He's a neurologist from Harvard and MIT, and he's a global leader on consciousness. So that's happening on April 28th in Palo Alto. So the app is a good enabler. We have lots of videos and talks including talks by Dr. Nandita Shah, and there's so many other resources that you find across the thing. We focus on a whole variety of diseases and practices, so that's a very useful tool. So if you have not downloaded this app and signed up, please do so, not only for registering, for even getting to know what the events are. So it's one click and it's simple. May I invite Naresh Bakshi, who is a co-founder, and he's a community leader. He's also a founding trustee of the India Community Center, and he has been orchestrating a lot of our work at in the India chapter. He celebrated his 80th birthday recently, which was attended to large numbers. He reversed his diabetes after he took his company public in the NASDAQ, right? And he recognized that everything was going fine, taking a company public, which he started, the CEO and founder. And then he realized there's something missing, and that's a long story, which probably, you can watch his videos if you take our app. Okay, our app has a lot of health heroes like him, of different ages, including high school kids, how they have reversed their disease. All on the app, so please use that and you'll get to hear his full story, what exactly happened. And he reversed it, he climbed Mission Peak, and he continues doing all this jugglery with his health. And we are proud to have him as a co-founder of CWC and the way he's orchestrating the community, sharing his own lifestyle practices and his own stories. So over to you. And by the way, he also did a program with Dr. Nandita Shah through our India chapter. So over to you.
Thank you, Som. My job only is to tell you that all of this is wonderful because we've known Nandita right from Google. But then we followed up with her in India. And if you remember, half the questions were about ghee, about milk, and people saying, oh, our ancestors did it. Oh, our Ayurveda says did it. So, Nandita, your job in India is harder. It is harder. We do have a chapter of CWC Global in India doing similar kind of work. There the needs are somewhat different, so we work in that sense. There we are starting the teachings at a young age of 6th, 7th, 8th grades in schools. That's what really will make the long-term difference, but it takes time. We also have some of our, one of our senior advisors who has written a book on this subject. So if any one of you want to see those two books, you can take a look at them and write your name. We'll arrange for you to get those. So with this, I want to thank Som. Som, please come. Savita, are you around? Savita, Director of Operations, and our volunteers. Please stand up. Volunteers, please stand up. Pallavi, they may be working outside. But let's give them a big hand. And my last request is, please take time to learn more, because what Nandita told you today is wonderful. But if you keep on reinforcing the support groups, the learnings, it keeps on going. My own story, he has already talked about. Nandita, I was a diabetic person. I had sleep apnea. I had hiatal hernia, and you name it. So if I could reverse all of these things at age 65, I would have been in a nursing home today, if I didn't do it. So best thing is to prevent, which is the best thing. This young boy telling you starting from young age. Second best thing is if you do discover at any age, you can work to start reducing it. But you have to be patient and work hard. So thank you, Nandita, for coming. And let's give her a big standing ovation. Please, standing ovation. And Amit, you are here too? Okay. Thank you very much.
We'll make it short. And I just want to tell you that we also have some books out there. So we just have some books out there if anyone wants to leave. There's Reversing Diabetes in 21 Days. Rahul, if you can go out there, Rahul. If you can go out there, there's a folder there and the books are there in the front table. Yeah. So if anyone wants any of those books, there's a recipe book, a SHARAN Healthy Living book, and Reversing Diabetes in 21 Days. All of them are $10 each. I'm happy to help now with questions. Is there someone to pass the mic around? Okay. Yes. Loud and clear.
Yes, I have a question related to protein. So I'm wondering if a person is on vegan diet, how much protein that person requires. For example, my young son who is 21 years old, how much plant-based protein he should take, and whether plant-based protein powder is helpful.
Oh, absolutely, you don't need plant-based protein powders. If you just eat fruits and vegetables, you'll have enough protein. If you just eat fruits, you'll have enough protein. And Anay answered that question, like, look at the chimpanzees, right? Okay, so please don't worry about protein. And, you know, I can make it much longer. There's a whole talk on protein on our YouTube channel. So I refer you to that because I just want to answer many questions. Okay, if you can all come up and, you know, I think let's pass down the mic as soon as possible. Oh, okay.
Shanti, we would like to give a memento to Dr. Nandita for a wonderful talk. Thank you.
I had a question for a younger person who's in college. Sometimes, you know, there's some excessive drinking that they do in college, and wanted to know a little bit about the effects of alcohol that on a younger person, and also if you have any tips for younger people that have